There were 41 photos on that memory card, and I was in every single one of them. Not walking past the camera, not checking the batteries, sleeping inside a tent, from an angle no lens bolted to a tree could ever reach. I hadn't pitched that tent yet. I hadn't picked the campsite. I hadn't even hiked that far into the woods. But there I already was, asleep, 3 nights ahead of myself. And something had been standing over me the entire time, waiting for the rest of me to catch up. My name's Mara Voss. I was a field tech on a university elk migration study, which is a fancy way of saying I hiked into the backcountry every 6 weeks to swap batteries and memory cards on a grid of trail cameras nobody else wanted to service. My section was called the Kestrel Basin, 41,000 acres of old growth, so far off the road system that the ranger station logged it as a 2-day round trip. Minimum 12 cameras, spread 9 miles apart, which meant an overnight camp was mandatory. I'd done this rotation 11 times before. I knew the drill. What I didn't know, because nobody bothered to tell me until I was already 3 miles in, was that the tech before me hadn't finished her season. She quit mid-rotation and left exactly 1 line in the field log, tucked in the plastic sleeve with the site maps. If a card's timestamp reads ahead of real time, log the anomaly and hike out. Do not review the images in the field. I laughed when I read it. Figured it was some kind of scare the new tech tradition. The way night shift nurses tell each other the 3rd floor gets cold for no reason. Grid techs get bored out here. They invent rules. So when I reached Site 4 and the camera's internal clock read 2 days ahead of my GPS, I didn't hike out. I opened the card. The first photo was normal, a mule deer crossing the frame at dusk. So was the second. By the 9th photo, the deer was gone, and I was standing dead center in the frame instead, facing straight into the lens. I didn't remember standing there. I hadn't even reached Site 4 yet when the camera would have taken it. I told myself it was a clock glitch, logged it like the notes said, and kept walking. That night, camped near Site 5, I woke up past midnight to my own voice, carried thin on the wind from somewhere out past the tree-line. It was repeating, almost word for word, the radio check-in I'd called into dispatch 6 hours earlier. Same cadence, same stumble on the word coordinates. Half a second behind, by Site 6, I stopped pretending it was equipment failure. The mud under the mound held a boot print. Not just any print, but the exact tread of my own boots. A custom resole from a cobbler 2 states away who told me himself he'd never made that pattern for anyone else. The print faced deeper into the woods, away from the trail. 3 days old, going by how the leaf litter had settled back into it. I'd only been on this rotation for 1. Then came Site 7. The 41 photos. The tent I hadn't pitched yet. Timestamp 3 nights ahead. That was the card I told you about. That was the one I couldn't explain away. Because a glitch doesn't know what your future campsite looks like before you've picked it. I almost turned back. I didn't, because turning back meant a solo 9-mile hike in the dark. And I told myself the smart move was to push on to Site 8 before dusk. 2 miles later, through a gap in the pines, I saw a tent already pitched in the exact clearing I'd marked for that night's camp. Same rainfly, same reflective guy line tied off in the granny knot I always use because I never learned the real one. I hadn't set up camp yet. I was still holding my pack. I stood there long enough to watch the zipper on the tent door move. Not open, closed, something zipping itself in from the inside, like it heard me coming and needed privacy. I keyed my radio to call it in. Dispatch answered, but underneath her voice, buried in the static, I could hear my own voice, already answering questions she hadn't asked me yet. That's when I understood the actual math the note should have just spelled out. The timestamps weren't random. Site 4 was 2 days ahead. Site 7 was 3. But Site 6, the one I'd passed most recently, was already down to 6 hours. Whatever was out here wasn't just watching me. It was living my week before I lived it. And the gap between us was closing. Fast. I started walking faster. And behind me. So did something else, matching my pace exactly, like it was timing itself off my body instead of the trail. When I stopped to catch my breath, it stopped too. Same half-second delay as my voice on the radio. Like it hadn't just copied what I said, it had copied how I moved. Down to the beat. I did the math wrong the first time, thinking I needed to outrun it. You can't outrun something that's already 3 sites ahead and closing. So I stopped running and started thinking about what those cameras were actually doing. Not recording me, building me. Every image, every card, every timestamp was a data point. And each site I reached, in order, let the thing behind me lock in one more piece of the pattern. Where I'd stand, what I'd say into the radio, how long I'd pause to catch my breath. It wasn't following my footprints. It was following my file, and whichever version of me reached Site 12 first. The last camera before the trailhead, with a complete set of data, that was the one that got to keep walking out of these woods as Mara Voss. The other one just stopped being necessary. I had 6 cameras left between me and the trailhead, and a 6-hour gap shrinking every time I stopped to think instead of moving. So I made the call I'm still not proud of, the one my department has never quite forgiven me for. I didn't run for Site 12. I doubled back for Site 8 and put a rock through the housing. Then Site 9. Then Site 10. Every card, every image, 12 cameras worth of federally funded research data. I destroyed all of it, one mounting bracket at a time, because a copy of me with a broken, incomplete file was a copy of me that couldn't finish. By Site 11, my hands were bleeding from the casing plastic, and I could hear it behind me, matching my pace. For the first time all week, I heard it breathing. Not walking, breathing, like the gap had closed enough that it didn't need the trail anymore. It just needed one more data point. I smashed Site 12 without even checking what was on the card. I didn't want to know how close the timestamp had gotten. I just wanted the file to stay broken. Then I ran the last 4 miles to the trailhead in the dark, off trail, using nothing but the shape of the ridgeline to know I was still going the right way. Because I didn't trust a single trail marker not to have been moved. I reached the truck a little after 4 in the morning. I told the department I'd had a bear encounter, that I'd panicked and damaged the equipment trying to scare it off. They didn't believe me. Not really, but there's no line on a federal incident report for "I don't know," asked the woods. I lost the assistantship. I haven't been back to Kestrel Basin, or any backcountry site, in the 2 years since. For a long time I told myself the gap had just stopped. That smashing 12 cameras broke whatever was building that other version of me, and it never finished. I still tell myself that. Most days, it's easier than the alternative. But 3 weeks ago, a padded envelope showed up at my apartment. No return address, no note, just a memory card, the same brand the university used to issue us. One photo on it, me, in my own bed, shot from an angle that would put the camera somewhere near the ceiling in the corner of my room. A corner with no shelf, no vent, nothing to mount anything to. The timestamp on the photo is tomorrow night. I'm posting this because I need to know if anyone else has found a timestamp that hasn't happened yet. A trail cam, a doorbell cam, anything with a clock in it, showing you something that's still hours or days away from happening. Tell me in the comments. Don't just delete the file and move on like I almost did the first time. I need the details. How far ahead? How many photos? Whether the gap was closing or holding steady. If this is the kind of story you needed tonight, subscribe and stay a while. There's more where this came from. And honestly, I could use the company. I still haven't opened that card again to check if the timestamp moved. Some nights I think about doing it right before bed, just to see how close it's gotten. I haven't worked up the nerve yet.